No, it's probably 4:31.
Well, that's actually what I watch. So AT&T times.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
We
From
can
my
do
phone.
4:31. It's okay.
I can put 4:31. That's fine.
All right, you're good.
Whatever it says.
You ready?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right. Call the regular meeting of the December 16th of the Water Board at 4:31 p.m. We'll have approval of the minutes of the November 18th, 21 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve from Barry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second from Steve Freeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, by like sign. Okay. Before I do the review of the financial statements, I want to acknowledge that Mr. Cunnington was approved for another term by the city
Did
council
you know
last Monday.
Nobody called. Nobody wrote.
Nobody sent you a card or anything.
No,
huh?
no, congratulations.
Did anybody even ask you if you wanted to be
No.
reappointed? Well, you got reappointed.
So you're in for what, 4
I think so.
more years?
Almost years.
Okay. Then if you go to sleep and don't let it be known, you may be another 4. Anyway, so thanks, Bill, for your service. Appreciate it. Appreciate what you do. So,
Thank you.
all right, on the financial statements, was looking at those. Financials are still tracking on a positive note from budget. We are revenue of the water was 656,000 against a budget of 641,000. Note that the hydrant fees have been paid by the city to us for flushing the hydrants. And that was the $17,000 item on the hydrant fees. I'm assuming that 7,000 is allocated monthly, Glenda, in the budget.
It's just how it's broke down.
On the budget, are you looking at the budget tracking?
Yes.
Yes, it does. It breaks it
Okay.
down monthly.
So it makes us positive this month, but then those will continue to accrue until it hits the
Yeah.
17,000 on the total budget. So, okay.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Expenses, looking down. We have under everything seems to be pretty much in order going down, looking at the line items. I don't see anything truly out of line there.
We talked about retirement in the state. That number jumped. It's down under expenses, about the 5th item. What we budgeted 30,000 year to date. Was that increased this year? Have we made adjustments for what the state asked for us to put aside for retirement for our employees?
No, those are actual expenses for retirement. So
What do you mean?
I don't know why that's different than the budgeted. Well, it may just have, maybe timing.
Timing.
Maybe it hadn't been paid yet, for the month, or
Mhm.
it's paid monthly.
And is it
I'll
for
I'll
people
look
that
at
are
it.
gonna retire? Is that what you're paying into there?
No, that's
No.
all the employees. That is actual retirement that we pay.
So your match part, the employees pay a certain percent of them. So that's our match.
Or that may be what's withheld from the,
That's what I'm saying. That's
employees.
probably what that is.
yeah, that's the employees portion. I don't know. I'll
It's
look at it.
payment to the state pension fund. That's what it is.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is the actual
And that's what I'm
retirement.
asking. Is that different from last year? Are we on? We've talked about that. That's gonna have to increase.
They've not actually
Actually-
increased the dollars paid yet. It's the accruals on the annual.
Yeah,
budget
that's
is
shown
what
in
that
a
is.
different
It's not-
place in our.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
in the
sometime I'd like
financials.
to know
I will.
how it's changed.
Okay,
I know I did
Year,
just
year.
get the rates for next year for 2022, 23,
Uh-huh.
and they're actually gonna go down just a little bit, which I
You know, the
can't
economy's
believe.
improved,
A little
you
bit.
know, but
Hazardous is going up, but non-hazardous is going down just a little.
But
So
we're
that'll
far
help us.
from being solvent in
Oh,
most of
yeah.
our retirement systems, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
if we'd taken a hit yet on that.
Okay, under sewer, looking at it, revenues are still holding again on the sewer side. And the operating cost, we've got maintenance and repair is up as it has been for the biggest part of the year so far. And overtime and a lot of that work is going to extra hours to the least employee that we have as far as increases there, but in total, we're 367 expense against 352. So we're reflecting 113,000 loss against the budgeted 99,000 loss. So we're still about where we need to be on that. And then the November cash balance, November 21 was a little over $1 million and 095. And the compared to 968,000 last time. And off of our city infrastructure advance, we are down. The balance is 464,000. And we're continuing to make a monthly payment on that to build that back up from where we had to borrow the money for various projects. So financially, we're still doing well and coming along. All right. Any other questions on that? All right, Silas, you want to bring us up to date on where we are with the influent lift station?
Yes, so the input lift station, we're still moving along pretty good. So the structures have been set, for the wet wells. The only thing left is the top barrels, but the hard part's done. You know, getting those bottom structures leveled up and set. All the piping is in for the structures. You know, still have a lot of other piping to do, but that's pretty much been what they focused on this month. They're still flying rebar in, getting the mats put up, so that way they can pour concrete for the walls. And right now, the weather's been real good and everything's holding and we're moving along. It's slow, but definitely moving.
Okay, very good. All right, at Monday night's city council meeting, you know, last meeting of the board, we talked about the $4 meter increase to pay for the meters. And we're now figuring that we have how many more left to install roughly?
Roughly 450.
Okay.
That's a rough number, but
Everybody in the city is.
I mean, right now we've got less than 50 in the city to go.
Okay,
Yeah, less than 50.
so we said when those are installed, then we would put the $4 charge in place. So the first reading of the ordinance was Monday night, and I think you've got a copy
I
of
did. I
that
put
in
a
your
copy in there for you
packet.
to read.
And the way that we, that Greg wrote this up is he took the minimum bill charge and just added $4 to each one of those. So for a 5/8 service, which is your normal household service, he took the $8.64, added the $4 to that. And then he also increased it by the 3 point, what's that number, Glenda, 3.8?
3.73 is what I calculated the CPI to be for the January increase.
To that, so that's the basic is where those 1489, 1650, and those numbers came from. It requires another reading of the second reading of the ordinance in the January meeting. And if that's approved, as it seemed to be.
Actually,
Approved.
Dan, can I,
You want to change
correct on
something?
that?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
on this ordinance, because I talked to Greg about this. This was the previous ordinance from, I don't know when this was from, Greg. Do you know?
16 or 17.
Yeah, so those rates that are marked out were rates from then, okay? And then the rates that we've written over to the side, those are the new rates that are going to take effect in January.
Okay,
So then when this $4 increase goes on, so like for a 5/8 inch service, it's showing 1489, it will be 1889. No, it will be the
it'll be
1489.
the 1489.
Yeah. It will be the 1489. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, no, you're correct.
Yeah.
Yep, it'll be the 1489.
And the 1489, I guess, includes any CPIs and everything up to
It
date.
includes, yes, it does.
Okay,
Because if you look at this little sheet right here, I did some example bills, so I'm showing 4 years for you. You know, so like in 22 there, I'm showing, this one that's coming up is a 3.73% increase. So the water is going with that increase, like currently it's 1050 for 2,000 and less for a 5/8 inch meter, and it's going to go to 1089. So then in this ordinance, he's showing, it will be 1489 with the increase. With this ordinance, with the $4 rate increase. So then I actually,
So January,
Go ahead.
so January 1, the rates will increase per the automatic rate increase. So we'll get the CPI adjustment January 1.
correct,
And then in January, the city council will adopt, we assume they will adopt the new ordinance so that on February 1, the new rates as reflected in that ordinance will go into effect. But the old rate adjustment ordinance stays in place. It hadn't been affected at all.
so on my example bills, right now, a bill with water, sewer, and garbage that is 2,000 gallons or less is $34.25. We have a lot of those minimum bills, So in January with this increase, this 3.73 increase, their bill is going to go up to $35.26. It's going to have $1 and a penny increase. Then in February with the $4 rate increase, it's going to go to $39.38. So $39.38 will be the basic, minimum bill. So if that helps explain that any,
It does.
okay.
Yeah.
That's why I did these two. This was just the rate increase. This is with the $4. It's just example bills for you.
that's on the second sheet back here.
Yeah, this one was with the
Right.
$4.
Is with the $4.
Yeah. Just some examples.
And we have,
So did you have something else, Greg? I'm sorry.
Well, it sounds like that is what it is.
and we've spoke to Blair about needing some PR stuff, so she's gonna work on that.
Good. Okay.
And because it's gonna,
It works out. I was just doing some quick math for you on, it works out to something like about a 16% increase from 2019 rates. For example, going back to your first date there. Or the low end. And then the next one, similar.
How much was it, Ben?
You know, they pay, you can look at her paper here, paid 32.56.
Right.
I'm saying come February, they're gonna start paying 39.26.
38, 39, 38. What?
39.38.
Yeah,
39,
38, right.
Yeah, so.
And so I'm saying the difference there is about $6 and 80 cents.
From 2019.
Yeah, yeah, I'm taking it all back
Yeah.
to 19. So then you take 680 over 32.50. That's basically 17% increase.
In 4 years.
Mhm.
And this-
And then we go back, after that just to the CPI.
Yeah.
It's gonna, you know, and next year it's gonna jump again with this CPI, you know, I would assume that CPI is gonna be high, given inflation everywhere. So
May do it.
it won't be, you know, what was it, these 3.7? Well, I guess. the
It's
last
been
3
running
years-
about 3%.
Yeah,
plus or
I don't
minus.
think it's gonna be
It
3%
hadn't
next year.
changed too
Yeah.
much.
I think it'll be higher,
Mm.
given inflation in general.
I think social security income increased 5.9%.
Yeah, but
Then they raise
unfortunately,
their
their
insurance.
premiums.
Oh, yeah, they'll get it back.
Yeah, it didn't make much increase from what I've seen on paper.
Yeah, I keep up with moms and every time they raise it, the premiums seem to match.
They seem to take it down.
The way that this is now set up too, we had talked a little bit about the 4% being a flat rate fee. And then what would happen once the meters are paid off? With this setup, the way it's set up, that will continue to be in that for whatever,
Indefinitely.
indefinitely, yeah, so.
Well,
And it'll allow for maybe some infrastructure repair or some, Silas and I talked about, setting up some kind of 2 or 3 years, get down the road, things get going, that start putting some money into an account. Build up some funds for infrastructure, or we may have to use it for infrastructure repair by then, so we don't know yet.
I mean, my whole intention is, after we get the loan paid off, we set up a sinking fund or something along that line. And I'm not saying that the entire $4 has to go into it, but, at least put $1.50 or $1 or something in it. Because with these meters, we have a 15-year lifespan on them. These have batteries in them, the earths have batteries. So this is gonna be, a recurring expense. And ideally, what you'd like to do is, say at year 12, start replacing. So try to do a third of your system every year and get ahead of that 15 years. And that would be my intention is, not take the whole $4, but, $1.50, something along that line. Go ahead, start a sinking fund. So whenever it does come time to replace these meters and earths, we already have some money there. Now, it may not be enough to cover it, but we're not looking at a large loan. So that would be my intentions on that.
I think we talked about this last time, but has there been an increase, once you replace the meters? Do you see wheels changing or going down?
So we didn't really see it this month, because honestly, the bulk of the meters have gotten changed out in the past 2 months, and we had a lot of errors. And whenever we change the meters out, do a meter change out, that's very complicated. It's simple, but it's complicated. You got to take the reading when you change the meter out, look at the previous reading, get that number, and then take this month's new number and put it against it. We've had some issues with it. So right now, I don't feel comfortable saying that we've seen an increase or a decrease, just because, you can ask Glenda, we spent all day today working on it. And we had some issues that hopefully we've gotten resolved.
so comparing, looking at the other lines there, doing some quick math. The first one was 16% for the people using over 3,500. Again, it goes back to the $4 is stagnant. That theirs would increase 14% over the 4 years. The next two groups are non-resident. and it's about 18%. That goes up about $8 over from 2019 to what's gonna happen in February. And the last groups goes up to about $10. The bill's now at 77 for those people, non-residents, 3,500, that's about 14%. So somewhere between 14 and 18% on all these. Over that 4-year period, we're seeing that increase. Again, I think, going back to Roger's time here, I know it's hard, people with a stagnant income or, one that just doesn't change any, but on the other side of this, Roger pointed out relatively to anywhere, we have cheap rates. We are offering this service cheaper than the average in Kentucky by all means.
Yeah, and we're still gonna be, getting close on water. Now sewer is average.
Is it?
Our sewer rates are average
Okay,
for the state. On the water, we're getting closer to average, but we're still below it. But my argument, which I know I don't have to sell this to y'all, but my argument on it is, electric prices are going up. I mean, everything's going up. I still have to treat that water and my cost for treating it is going up. And, and that's, whenever we start getting angry phone calls, I mean, that's gonna be my go-to argument is it's costing me more to treat that water, make that water and send it to you. Now, we have made big improvements even since I've been here, going to VFDs, and things like that. We're seeing the improvement on the electric bill, but, my electric bill is very expensive every month and I have to have electricity. And so, I mean, I know I don't have to sell it to y'all, the council, that they've agreed to this, but, my bills are going up too. And, I don't want to be mean about it, but, water is gonna have to go up too.
Well, and I think people want quality water, or you gotta have quality water, so we gotta make sure that we keep it.
And we do have excellent quality water.
Yeah, and one of the things that we want to do, thinking ahead, is at some point, we need to sit down and spend some time going through the expenses that we look at every month, and then bring that back around to a cost per gallon or cost per whatever a unit costs to produce that water, and then compare it back to the selling price and see where we are. Because we can't really produce water at a loss.
Yeah.
So, but I think right now, it seems like we're holding our own, so. That was one question I did have, Silas, was we've got these 6-inch meters and 4-inch meters. Where are they normally? Are they in the industrial
Yeah.
complex?
So the 6-inch meters, you're gonna see those Westlake, Arkema, you're gonna see those there. The 4-inch meters, see them in the industrial complex. Rail Services has a 4-inch meter, so it's gonna be the 4 inches you're gonna see in industrial, but a little bit smaller industrial. 2-inch meters are mainly gonna be like the elementary school, some of the bigger businesses. But most of the regular businesses around here either have a 3/4 inch meter or have a 5/8 inch meter, straight 3/4, or a 1-inch meter for most of the businesses. And we do have some houses that have 1-inch meters. I don't really understand that, but we do have some houses that have 1-inch meters.
So we need to, as a part of that campaign, information providing and reaching out to people on this cost increase. We also need to advise those
Yes.
plant users of that as well with some kind of memo or something of that.
Yeah,
So-
and we'll get something together and, of course, we'll do the Facebook campaign, whatever we need to do. I'll let Blair handle how do we get it out to the people, but then we'll also put together, a nice letter and make sure that all of our industrial users know it's coming.
Right. So
So you said it's really too early to see the data in terms of foreseeing.
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
how long, do you need 6 months? What do you need, 3 months?
I'd say within 3 months, 4 months, we'll have a pretty good idea. Of course, we are going into our slower time on
True.
water sales, but that normally relates to the plants and to industrial facilities, residential sales. The only time we see bumps in residential sales is, in the summer when people are watering their yard, for the individuals that don't have sprinkler meters.
Right.
So I feel pretty good that in the next 3 months with meters that we have in right now, that we should see the difference, if there is gonna be a difference. And I still expect to see a difference. Some of these meters we're pulling out, after we pull them out, we know they're dead. We can blow through them and you can hear the turbine spin, but the dial doesn't turn. We
Right.
know they're dead.
So were we probably charging those people a minimum?
Yep.
And in
And-
reality, they might be using quite a bit more.
It more than likely, they were using the minimum or maybe just a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Right.
But now we're gonna have an accurate read on what they're actually using.
Plus, we should have a more accurate read of what we're
Yes,
sending out
yes.
and know.
Yeah, so
what
for figure, the game changer for me is figuring my water loss.
Yes.
That because now every gallon's accounted for. It's not every gallon that we sell is accounted for. So it's not, well, that was a minimum bill, so we figure in 2,000 gallons, and the game changer for me is on figuring water loss.
Yeah, okay. What,
Tripping, I'm sorry.
go ahead. Oh, well, so water loss can happen anywhere in the system between where you're pumping it and to the homes.
And water loss even happens at my water plant. For water that we backwash with, which we account for that. And even at the water plant, we have spigots everywhere that we wash the trucks off and, our water plant's the only place in Calvert that doesn't have a water meter, so.
I think you ought to put a water meter over and charge them.
Uh.
I said, I think you ought to put a meter over and charge them for all that
We're,
use.
we're a little above that.
Ah.
We're special.
You're special.
We
That's
feel that
right.
if we make it, we're allowed to keep it.
No,
So water loss starts at the plant. If that water goes through the filter, I account for it. And at the plant, we do, on backwashing, with the way it's set up, we know how many gallons we use backwashing. I estimate how many gallons we use washing the trucks and you can tell from our trucks, we don't wash them that often. So I estimate that. But yeah, water loss is one of those things. It starts from the minute it enters your plant and we account for it.
Okay.
And right now, I haven't figured it up for this month yet because we're still working on those numbers. But, as of last month, we were running about, 16% on water loss, which is, we've got some leaks we need to fix, but 16% is not bad. Yeah, it sounds
I've heard
high.
it worse
Yeah.
here quite a bit, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be great to be under 10%, but.
Yes.
You gotta keep playing the dice.
What was the life of the loan on this?
Water
Five.
meters.
5 years.
And we're already a year into it.
I was gonna ask a minute ago if there's when you said y'all's meters are dead, do we have any way of generating a flag on a bill if we're seeing the same number recurring a
Yes.
couple of months in a row to make?
And that is our irregular usage report. Is that what it's called?
Okay.
Whenever
We have one.
we print out their irregular usage, it shows us, 0 read, low read,
Too
high
low or
read.
something, yeah.
Yeah, things like that. Of course, whenever we get the high reads, first thing we always think is a leak.
Right.
We try to contact the homeowner. Hey, have you had a leak? Do you have a leak?
And that report comes out how?
Well, whenever we run every month, whenever
Okay.
we run it, and honestly, there's sometimes that report's so big that we go through and, okay, they have a pool, that sometimes that report's just so big that it's not feasible for us to go check every one. And that's something that's something that we're gonna have to remember is with these new meters, we are not going and looking at every meter in our system. So, and that's one service that, you know, people are losing is whenever we pop that lid, if it's spinning, we contact them, hey, we think you might have a leak. Now, with these meters, we're also putting in leak detectors. So hopefully with the leak detectors in the system, you know, we will have a general idea of where leaks are, and that gives us a chance to go out, pop the lids, okay, that meter's spinning, think they have a leak. So, but that is one.
These detectors are digital, you're saying you're gonna be able to,
Yeah, whenever we run the report, in which
Okay.
we haven't done the leak detectors yet, you know, the system's set up, but we haven't been through the training yet.
okay,
But whenever we run the report, it's supposed to red flag, you know, this leak detector saying that it hears a leak somewhere. And then we go out and investigate. So a lot of variables, hoping everything falls into place the way it should. But that is a service that people are going to be losing, is that every month we're not opening that meter lid, looking at the meter and saying, hey, you may have a leak. So not saying that people really take advantage of it, because we've told the same person multiple times, think you have a leak, and every month we go back and it's still spinning. So not saying that people actually use that service, but for the most part they do. But with the leak detectors and how they're spaced, you know, ideally, we should get a pretty representative sample of what's going on in our system within Calvert City. Now, once you get out to, you know, the Possum Trot area where, you know, you're going 500-600 foot in between houses, you know, the leak detectors are not going to pick up the entire area.
Right.
So, you know, it's definitely the best option that we have right now. And let's see where it goes. But I mean, the big thing is those the manpower, because we spend well over 100 man hours a month reading meters and rechecking meters. And, you know, we've got over half of our system on radio reads, and I knocked it out Tuesday in 3 hours.
yeah.
And, you know, just driving in the truck, and it was picking them up. So,
Well, and again, I keep, you know, I've been here with you and Dan, and I've been here for a while. I mean, Roger talked about hoping to become proactive at least part of the time instead of reactive. So I would just encourage you to keep looking for that opportunity. What can we, if we see some time here, if I have some time, or you can delegate some time, where would you use it and try to do it? I mean, if you don't make it a priority, it's
Well,
not gonna happen, so.
and what scares me, I mean, I'm all for being proactive instead of reactive. I think we're gonna be overwhelmed at first. Once we really deploy the leak detectors, I think we're gonna be overwhelmed because of false readings. You know, and that was one thing that they warned us of, you know, underground transformers, you know, stay within, you know, stay a couple hundred feet away from them. Just basic noise.
You're gonna
on the
hear
line.
other things.
So, you
So
know,
these detectors are sound, vibration, what are we doing?
Sound.
Sound. okay.
yeah, they pick up on sound waves.
Wow.
Mhm. So, and of course, on metal pipe, so your ductile iron pipe picks up much further distance than it does on plastic pipe. Which, you know, y'all know we have a little bit of everything in our system. So I think, you know, if I'm guessing, I'm gonna say the first 6 to 8 months of the leak detectors and the 100% radio reads, I think the first 6 to 8 months are gonna be overwhelming on us, but once we finally get it figured out, I think it's a game changer. I mean, I think we're gonna have a lot of time opened up for us to do things that we need to do.
Hope so.
How are we identifying this on the actual bill, the $4? What's it gonna be
It's
called?
just gonna be an increase on the bill.
So the bill, so it's not
It's-
identified.
it's not
as
a line
as a
item.
line
It's
item.
not.
Okay.
It's not numbered.
Okay.
And where is the loan in this that we look at each month? Underwater, sewer,
Trial balance for
under
sure,
the tri-balance,
where you've got
Are
your
you talking about
cash.
the water
number.
loan?
the water loan.
Yeah. it's
Well, the
on
meter, no, the meter loan.
Right.
Is that a water loan?
It's the, well, that's what I was talking about.
No problem.
It's on the second page, that 80, then 00244, note payable to Kentucky Rural Water.
Okay, that's the money we've used to buy these meters. And more, or just the meters? Is it a mix of things? Or-
It's a mix of things.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah.
what leak detectors, meters.
I mean,
It's
it's the
the
whole,
software.
everything
full
that went
package
with
for
it.
the-
What
package.
what we had.
To install this
POs for.
system.
Yes,
Yes,
it's the full package.
exactly.
Got it. And
exactly.
so our loan,
But
we
that's the
paid on it for a
balance.
year and now the loan's down to,
304.
got it. 304,000, we're good. And we got 4 more years to go.
We'll make it a 7,000,
Mhm.
7,700. I forget how much it is a month.
But 80 to 90,000. That's good. Sure, I would love to see when that loan's paid off. That other stuff you're talking about, let's start within the system, setting aside money for the next one.
I mean, I'm pulling meters, or we are pulling meters out right now that are 50 years old
Right,
in certain areas. So,
nice. So if we can,
I mean,
15
these-
years from now, and like I say, I'd love for us to have some money there that we don't have to take out of, a $400,000 loan. And we can go to the next system, make it more seamless. Don't have to charge an extra $4 to add that onto that point because of this anyway.
And if we end up, well, whether we end up building a new water plant or staying at our facility, we're gonna be in a pretty good amount of debt no matter what. And so with me, this is money that is guaranteed.
Yeah.
And I'd like to take a little bit of it and stash it away for, because these meters have a 15-year lifespan, that's it.
Yeah.
So, because of the batteries in them. So I'd like to take a little bit of that money and stash it away. Then now, I'm not saying the reason we went with the meters that we have now is because they do have dials on them. They do, they're not digital. They do have a dial. They have the numbers that turn. So catastrophic, something happened, there's no way we could afford to put meters back in. And this is last case scenario, by all means. We're still not dead in the water. We can still go out and manually read the meters. And
that's
that,
nice.
and that was why we went with those registers, is because something happens, we can still manually read that
That's
meter.
awesome. That's awesome.
But I'm not planning on that. I'd rather plan on, let's have enough money stashed away that we can get a start on replacing them.
Well, unfortunately, anything when you start talking about software and digital, 15 years is always about pushing it into Michael.
Probably so.
Yeah, I agree. We had talked about earlier on possibly reading those with using the trash trucks.
Yeah, we had looked at that on, the garbage truck drives the entire city twice a week. Okay. We thought about mounting an antenna on it, getting another one of the boxes, putting it in there. But you have to download the route. Each time you want to read it, you have to download the route. Then it just would not be feasible to set the garbage truck up. And whenever we found out what the antenna and the computer and all that cost, we're better off just leaving it in one truck, and every month that one truck goes and reads the route. So, because if you were to mount in the garbage truck, every day or whenever you wanted to read the meters, you'd have to come up here, download, take it down there, plug it in. Once you got done reading, you'd have to sync it back, get the readings off of it, run the process, and then it just would not be feasible. So.
All right. Everybody good with what's going on with that and where we are? So in the state of disaster where everybody in our area is trying to get out from under right now, I thought about it, talked to Silas about it, and we thought we needed to talk about where would Calvert City be if we were in that same circumstance. It came up at the city council meeting, and I think Gene and the council, or Gene and somebody is gonna try to get together a workshop to look at what we got, where we are, what we would do, and similar to that. But I was asking Silas, okay, Mayfield totally lost their water tower. So what would happen to Calvert City if the tower on 9th Street collapsed for whatever reason? And Silas had a pretty good answer, but wanted you guys to hear it and know what we were doing and what we had the capabilities of, and see what questions y'all might have. And if we need to do more to be prepared, starting looking out and trying to get better, then we need to do that now to be prepared, because we never know when those things are going to hit.
So pretty much just a very brief, basic rundown. Being that we are a water and sewer facility, we have emergency response plans on everything. I mean, I have binders full of emergency response plans. Everybody knows the general idea, who to call, what to do. So if we did get into a disaster where we lost the water tower, first off, we do have a contract where the water tower gets inspected every year, no matter what. And they look structure, look at, what the inside looks like, outside looks like, painting and all that. So, we do have the water tower inspected every year. And sometimes it gets inspected twice a year, depending on weather. So really with the water facility, your key components are your well field. Without the well field, you don't have water. Your water plant, without the water plant, you don't have water, and the water tower. Without the water tower, you don't have pressure. Now we have a lot of low pressure. We have several low pressure areas in our system. Grand Oaks, 18th Avenue, that's low pressure. Camelot's low pressure. And there's a pretty good chunk of the Possum Trot area that's low pressure. If you were to lose the water tower, be catastrophic by all means, but within minutes we could valve it off and we could still keep pumping out into the system. Now, the water tower is what handles, like, you have to have a place in your system to send the air. And the water tower is where the majority of our air goes, and it, burps out the top. But also the water tower, our flows are never the same. The flows always fluctuate, the flows always change, because we run a pressure demand system. So the water tower handles that extra water or that extra need for water. So the water tower is your most essential point in handling your system's pressure and your system's regulation. There are companies out there, and we have their phone numbers at the shop. There are companies out there that if you lose a tower or you lose a storage tank, anything like that, they have portable tanks and pumps that they bring to you. They set the pumps up essentially on the same pressure demand. So we know at the base of the water tower, we run anywhere from 60 to 64 PSI. So they could set a pump up and maintain 64 PSI at the base of the water tower, which essentially would be the same thing as the water tower being in there. Not permanent solution by any means, but enough to get you by. If we were to get into a disaster like this, trees uprooting, water mains coming up out of the ground, we have valves everywhere in our system, and we can valve a section off pretty quick. But what you're really looking at is by the time you get everything, if you have multiple breaks, by the time you get everything valved off, do you still have enough water to operate? If you don't, you build it up as quick as you can, and you try to pressure your system up as quick as you can.
So you're saying breaks, that's where you're getting new leaks because of the damage,
Yeah.
whatever happened.
Yeah, say
Earthquake or tornadoes, whatever.
earthquake, tornado, if you have trees come down,
Yeah.
and there's a water main, I don't care what kind of tree it is, and I don't care where the tree is. If a root can reach a water main, it's gonna wrap around it a million times. Don't ask me why. I'm sure it's because something to do with the moisture, loose ground. But if there's a tree anywhere close to a water main, there's a root wrapped around it. Then if you have a big root wrapped around it, whenever the tree uproots, chances are water main's gonna come with it. So, essentially the first thing you do is wherever the breaks are, you valve it off. And whenever you can fix it, you fix it. So, and it was actually this year, Division of Water required all water systems to complete risk and resiliency analysis, which we completed it. And part of that analysis is what are the key points to your systems? Where are your major concerns? What can you do about those concerns? And then, of course, the state, by the end of the year, we have to submit an emergency response plan. which ours isn't completed yet, but it's almost completed. So, just another layer of protection there. So it's good to, it's good to do those. So that way it stays fresh in your mind. You know who to call if you have issues. So, pretty much the key points to our system, of course, is the well field, water tower, and water plant. But there's one other key point that has always been a concern, and that's the one feed that we have going to the water tower from the water plant. And we've looked at options, and we have options on how to strengthen that one feed or how to build redundancy into it. Because if you lose that one feed going to the water tower, yes, we can still pump water to the chemical facilities, but we don't know if we could pump enough water all the way around to get it back to the water tower, because you only have a couple of feeds coming back into Calvert. But, we're aware of this. We are working on it right now. I mean, you've met us down there and actually looked at that one spot. So, we are aware of it. We do have options. And if we did have a bad emergency, it'd just be assess what you got and how do you move forward. The nice thing about our system is we run a very simple system. There is nothing that says that we have to filter our water. Our water meets primary and secondary standards coming straight out of the ground. So if you lost the filter building, you could bypass it. Now, we don't have any bypasses in place, but, within a reasonable amount of time, you could have bypasses in. If we lose power for an extended amount of time, we have generators. I've got stationary generator at the water plant that can run that water plant, no problem. We have 2 stationary generators at the well field. We have 2 portable generators, which, for a side note, we do have 2 portable generators, but right now they're sitting in Mayfield. So if we do lose power, we're gonna be in a bind at the sewer plant.
We have a connection to North Marshall Water too, don't we?
Say
We
again.
have a backup feed
Yes.
connection, to North
Yeah.
Marshall Water.
Yeah,
They
so-
were not hit.
Yeah, so we are connected to North Marshall Water and also Paducah Water. So if something did happen to us, we do have 2 other feeds coming into the city. I don't know how much water we would be able to get, but a little bit's better than nothing. So,
Good. Now, on the generators, you had talked to me about needing to do something with the generators.
yeah, so you talking about at the well fields?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, so at the well field, we have 2 generators. Both of them are cat generators, stationary. The generator that actually supplies, so one generator supplies our wells. The second generator supplies the Duke wells. So the 2 wells, well, it used to be 2 wells, now it's 1. But the well that supplies water to TVA Energy, there's a generator that supplies that well. The generator that we have for our wells is ancient. We get it serviced every year. We have work done on it every year. And it's just getting so much age on it that I can only run 1 well off of it. And even at that, the temperature likes to creep up pretty slow on it. So, looking ahead to the future, that may be something we want to talk about come budget time one year. We really do need to talk about replacing that generator at the well field. And honestly, with the way used equipment is right now, it may not hurt to look at it next year, because we could probably get a decent amount of money out of that generator down there. But the one down there, I can only run 1 well. But if we get into an emergency situation, I can always take my big 480 volt generator, pull it, the portable one, pull it to the well field, then have an electrician come down and hardwire it in. And that big generator could run all 3 wells, no problem at all. But that's only if I got into an emergency. Like right now, that generator works fine for us, because if we lose power for a day, 2 days, we can run 1 well, keep enough water in the plant that we're fine. But if we got into another ice storm, or we had the tornado, that generator would not hold up for weeks. That generator wouldn't hold up for a week, and of constant running, and running only 1 well. If anybody was pulling hard on us, there's no way we could keep up with demand. because running one well, my biggest well out there, we can get about 850 gallon a minute off of it. Then we average pumping out 12, 13, 1400 gallon a minute. So, I don't think we have to do the math on that one. Those two don't really equal each other.
What's the fuel source?
Diesel. Yeah.
So that big tank down there?
Well, all of our generators have oversized tanks, like our stationary generators have the oversized tanks on it. So extra fuel, Brad at Street Department, he has a diesel tank down there, but we do not have, a spare, we do not have a storage tank on our facility. But we have a handshake agreement with TVA that if we do get into, a disaster and we cannot get fuel, TVA said that we could come down there and buy fuel off of them because they have a couple million gallons of
Those-
diesel in storage. If we got into an emergency situation, I don't know if that handshake agreement would hold up, but at least it makes me feel a little bit better right now.
What are we looking at cost for a new generator at the well field?
The first, I had one boy size it and quote it. Don't quote me on this, and this was like last year's
Yeah.
price, but I think it was in the 130 range, 130,000 range, and that was for a 200 kW generator with 250 startup. So 250 startup. Don't quote me on that price. I'd have to go back. and
Yeah, I
look
was
at
just
emails.
wondering, ballpark figure what we were looking at.
But you said you also could sell the old one and so help
And
defray some of that cost.
And the old one is a very good generator. It's just too small. That old generator was not designed that generator was not sized for the well fields. That was sized for a lift station. So there's a big difference in, a 75 horsepower motor compared to 3, 15 horsepower submersible pumps. So there's a big difference there.
Lift station wouldn't be running all the
Yeah. And I'm not saying that there's other options out there. We'd have to look at the contract with TVA, but, one option may be pulling the generator out of the TVA building, moving it over, and then putting a smaller generator in that, buying a smaller one. I haven't looked at all the options yet because I don't know how the contract works that generator. But, there are options out there that, come budget time, we may want to look and see if it might be something we can do this coming year. But
What is it that Duke's doing out there? Is Duke still on at Duke Energy?
well,
What are they
it's
generating?
TBA power.
yeah, they're TVA power. And they're set up, no, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're set up to run off natural gas or diesel, correct?
Those giant tanks by the railroad tracks, some of those giant ground tanks are fuel oil.
The railroad tracks where?
You know where the energy, the old Duke, which is now the TBA
Yes.
uh,
Yeah. I know which
turbine
area.
facility.
Yeah.
And so the railroad track runs right beside it.
Okay.
And between the railroad tracks and the actual 8 turbine units, there are some really big ground tanks. And those are fuel oil storage tanks.
And if they were to switch over to running on the fuel, I think that's whenever they need the water from us, because running on natural gas, they said they don't have to mist it. Does
Yeah,
that sound
sounds about
correct?
right. They probably have to atomize it.
So if they got to the point that they were running on the fuel, then I'm gonna have to have a generator over there to run that well to send them water because they would drain our system pretty quick. I wouldn't be able to bring enough water into my plant, if we were, like, right now, whenever they need water, it's not a large quantity. So we open a crossover valve and I send them water off of the wells that we use because it does not affect us. I don't even see my gallons drop at the plant at all. So, but if they got into the point where they were needing a bunch of water, I would have to run their well. And at that point, and our well number 6, so they were set up on 2 wells. Well, our well number 6 is set up on their line, even though it's not in the same location. So I could still run 2 wells and send them the amount of water that they needed. But the reason well 6 was set up the way it was because that water quality was so good that we'd like to have the option to run it into our plant. So
They don't have to have treated water though.
No.
And
They-
I'm surprised they don't do their own well.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
They don't have to have
It's
treated
a
water,
natural
but they
gas
really
fired
like the
turbines.
water off of our well field compared to the
There's
water
those
off of
8
their well that's in our well field,
Natural
because
gas
their
fired
well has real
turbines
high
out there that
iron.
are-
And, I mean, you wouldn't think 200 yards would make that big a difference in the aquifer, but it
Oh, yeah.
does. It does.
It's still kind of.
It's gotta change somewhere.
Yeah, and the one we closed was even higher than that.
Yeah. Yeah, that well number 5 is the one we abandoned. They couldn't even use that water. They couldn't.
Do you think Silas will have a time to review this last issue? And usually they have a debriefing. Like most times they have a big event like this, and we're included on those discussions and brought into.
Yes, yeah. Normally, we're included on those discussions, yes.
I'm just fortunate, as bad as it is, if this had been area wide and we had that kind of devastation in a 4-county area.
Yeah.
We'd be up a tree, I tell you.
I mean, like I said, our only saving grace here, if it was to happen here, our only saving grace is that we run a very simple system. And, yes, if we were to say, like Mayfield, they lost that big 600,000 gallon storage tank. Well, if we were to lose the water tower, we still have ways that we can keep our system pressured up. Now, it definitely wouldn't be like you go home tonight and turn the water on. It would not be the same. But we do have ways that we keep our system pressured up. If we were to lose our ground storage tank at the water plant, I can bypass that. We can pump straight off the clear well. Now, you're going from a 1.5 million gallon storage tank to a 450,000 gallon storage tank. I'm not saying that we wouldn't have to be calling, our large industrial users and tell them, hey, you got to slow down. But we do have ways that, we would be able to keep going. And I mean, if a tornado sat down right on top of the water plant, every one of us can run that plant without the computer because it's a simple system. Now, yeah, if we were to lose, VFDs and, lose motors and stuff like that, that's a different story, because we'd have to figure something out. But like I said, our saving grace is we run a very simple system and we have a lot of things in place where we would be able to continue.
With the power failure, so what about pump stations as far as the sewer plant's concerned, like the Gordon lift station and that down there, is that?
If we were to get into an event like that, if we were to get into a catastrophic event like that, we would pretty much have to walk away from the sewer system. That, we've tried it before. Of course, during the ice storm, I was not here. But during the ice storm, we have one portable generator that we can plug into the lift stations. That does you no good. By the time you get that one lift station pumped down, unhook, go to the next lift station and get it hooked up and get it pumped down, the one you just came from is already full. And we have 15 lift stations in Calvert. So, on your big critical lift stations, which would be Cypress Lakes, Herman Gordon, Fifth Avenue, those would really be your 3 critical lift stations. Going down the road here, it may not hurt to look at stationary generators to put in there. But right now, if it was to happen today to us, we would just have to walk away from the sewer system and say, whatever cleanup we have to do. But it would not be feasible. You'd have to send 2 guys and it would be 24/7. Just
So
plug
would
in
that be more of a house size generator?
a little bit bigger than a house size generator, a little bit bigger.
Mine's 20, I think.
Yeah, see, my Cypress Lakes lift station, each one of those pumps pulls full load not full load amps, but each one of those pumps right now, if they're not stocked up, will pull about 95 amps a piece. So on each one of
So
those,
you'd have-
and you got 2 pumps in there.
They're 3-phase,
Say again.
are they 3-phase?
Every lift station we have is 3-phase, except for our very small ones. And the reason we do that is because you can rebuild a 3-phase motor I know you can rebuild a single phase motor, but we've done it and it's not worth it.
But it sounds like maybe you would, in a really bad situation like that, I mean, hopefully after a couple of days, we would be able to rent generators.
Yeah.
One for each lift station and get them
Yeah.
brought in here from
And
who knows where and get them hooked up and then.
And our critical lift stations have double throws and have sockets on them. So you can just plug and play, as long as your rotation's right. But 3-phase, that's easy enough. You just switch leads. So, and the reason we've done that is because we've had times that power's been out for a day. Well, this last time, whenever, has that been back in the summer? West Kentucky went down for about a full day.
Yeah.
Uh,
It was in the summer.
and yeah, we learned from that one because Fifth Avenue lift station went down. Everything on West Kentucky went down, but Fifth Avenue lift station, nobody had a sewer backup, but we got a lot of reports from Maple Street of people not being able to flush. They didn't have a sewer backup, but they weren't able to flush because there was nowhere for it to go. So we had Riley Electric come down and they hardwired our 480 volt generator, which we had to switch the leads on it, but we had to switch the bus bar, but they hardwired it in and we were able to run it. Then we took our 230 volt generator to Cypress Lakes to run that one and we got by. Not saying that you didn't have any sewer going through your creek there, but we got by. And so after that, we made sure that all of our critical lift stations had sockets on them that we could just plug straight into. And then of course, double throw. So that way we don't send power back on the line.
Yeah. So I wonder if we should have like, and you may already have it, but like, so if you had to get multiple generators in, if the generator didn't happen to come with the exact plug that you needed, if we had that style plug, if we had however many of those we needed, to where we could install the plug on the end of the generator cord instead of ripping everything out and hardwiring it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That might not be a bad idea.
So I've got multiple pre-made wires with plugs.
Okay.
Like that SO wire, the real big SO wire. Right now, I probably have 5 of them sitting in our shop. We don't leave them outside, they stay in the shop. And the reason we have that is because we need different lengths for different applications.
How close you can get to.
Yeah, and we've got one that's close to 70 foot long, and we went ahead and bought a spool and made multiples because pulling it takes 2 guys. That one that's 70 foot long, it takes 2 guys to pick it up and wrestle it and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
And we think all of the sockets are wired up the same now because we had it where one was one way, the other one was another way, and you plug it in, turn your pumps on, and it wasn't pumping anything. Pulled the pump out and the impeller spun off the bottom because it was going the wrong direction. So we think most of them are wired up correctly, but we would have to, whenever we hook a generator up, we're very cautious.
Right. It's 50-50.
Yeah. No, it's more like 80-20.
Well, yeah.
80% is wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were very cautious on that. So
Street department doesn't have any welders or anything you could use for something like that. You're smaller.
no, we do have a portable welder, but it's not big enough.
It's not big enough.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, if we need, we run their compressor off of it and stuff like that. And on my smaller lift stations, yeah, it would probably be fine. But I don't, if you got into a natural disaster like that, I would have a hard time justifying going to the lift stations like Camelot and
Yeah.
Johnson Subdivision, just because when those do overflow, yes, it's bad, but it's not affecting an
I know it's-
individual.
yeah.
We don't want it, but if you had a generator running at every lift station, I'd have to hire people to
Yeah.
come in to drive around and check, make sure all that's good. So, but of course,
Well, don't be afraid to make that list. these guys at Graves County in Mayfield.
Yeah.
You can down the road, talk to them about, I wish we had this, I wish we had that.
Yeah.
And kind of get a sense of, and, bring it back to us here in 6 months and.
Yeah.
Let's, in the next 2-3 years, maybe this year, but soon, put in their budget. Some of this,
Yeah,
you guys know some of the details there, if it's to have the things you need just in case.
and, Western Kentucky, everybody wants to help, but water and sewer industry is a little bit different than like county road department and things like that. We know everybody, and it was like Saturday morning, now we worked, me and Glenn, we worked all Friday night because West Kentucky was down and we had issues everywhere. And before I even went home to get some sleep Saturday, the first thing I did was call down to Mayfield. What do y'all need?
Right.
Y'all need
So
manpower?
y'all are that tight.
Oh, yeah, and whenever I was talking to the manager, this was 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I knew he was there. I knew he was up. Whenever I was talking to him, JSA was already there. Hopkinsville was already there. It was, that's how the water and sewer industry works.
That's great.
And of course offered manpower, but there's nothing you can do.
Yes.
And the only thing that we could do was send them generators. So we sent our 2 portable generators to them. You don't hesitate, and no offense, but I didn't call and ask you. I called and told you they were gone, because that's how
You
we
didn't have to. I
operate.
mean, I don't.
So, that's the good thing is whenever you do get into disasters in the water and sewer world, we know everybody, we know what it takes. And, if he said, I need every one of your guys, we would have left 1 or 2 here to run our stuff and make sure we were good. But everybody would have been down there in a heartbeat. You don't worry about the money, you just go. And, in Calvert, with our city council, mayor, water board, everybody would have backed us on it. So, the water and sewer industry is a little bit different in that aspect. Is there's really no, well, that's your area, you take care of it. We all do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, good.
because you jumped in and not only did you send generators to Mayfield, you also got a call from North Marshall wanting,
Yeah.
needing some manpower.
Yeah, well, we, of course, with Roger being at North Marshall, we've offered everything we had. They've been able to make it without us, and we don't want to go down there and get in the way. That's the worst thing you can do. I got a call from Division of Water yesterday saying that Lyon County was looking for some licensed operators to pull samples because they were trying to lift full water orders. Well, me and Tim, we were the only 2 licensed operators that were licensed up to what they needed. Lyon County didn't call us. We called them and said, heard you're looking for some licensed operators. Do you still need them? He said, yes. Where do you want us? What do you need and where do you want us? And me and Tim, we spent all day yesterday in Lyon County.
Got it.
That's
Great.
that's just, in the water and sewer industry, that's how it works. Just because everybody knows how big of a pain it is to run these systems.
So, it sounds like we're in reasonably good shape. We need to look at the generators, I think, and to get that beefed up in case we do need it, but we don't need it. And like Michael said, we need to make sure we got things we need if we have to order.
Well, it's good to know, like I say, I don't want you piling up a bunch of stuff that you never use.
Yeah.
And if you've got other people, what's reasonable, that's good. It sounds like you got support systems around us. Other people will step up for us if we need them.
Yeah.
Unless it's some total disaster. But when it's real specific like this one was, that was nice.
Yeah.
To be able to help them and we know they'd help us. So it's great.
Really, tornadoes are horrible, but what scares us as a utility more than anything else is an earthquake.
It's gonna
Because
be everywhere.
all of our stuff's in the ground, as bad as we talk about AC water mains gonna hold up to an earthquake a lot better than PVC or ductile iron, ductile iron cast iron. They don't, if the ground moves at all, they're done. So, the biggest concern should be, an earthquake. for us, big concern should be an earthquake because, hopefully everything's still standing, but,
You're gonna have lots of breaks.
Yeah.
It's bottom line.
and all you can do is go to each individual break, valve it off best you can, go to the next one, and whenever you get done, hope you still have water.
Yeah, this tornado caused the seismic
Mhm.
bar. Did y'all
Yeah.
see that?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was very huge
Is that right?
tremor as it
I believe
was going along the ground or where it was. Which I guess had some of the impact on the water lines and whatever probably as well.
But,
Okay.
Overall, we are sitting pretty good, but always have room for improvement.
Let's work on some of those as we look towards the budget year and whatnot that we may need the generator. Think about that at the well field, make sure we got that covered. Okay, all right. The other thing I think is good about this conversation is it tells us as a board that Silas knows what he's got out there.
Yes, it
And
is.
so it's on top of it, so I think it's kudos to him, what job he does for us, so. Okay. Anybody got anything else? We're down to other discussion. Michael, you got anything?
No, I think that's all.
Can we
I
go
have.
back to last month, look at your notes from last month's meeting that I didn't make? So Mayor Coburn reported the board, he's moving ahead with an advisory. Okay. Do we know have any updates on that?
Don't have any update on that, no.
Okay. Members with expertise in areas. Okay. Taylor
is that
for the
kind of-
board, he'll bring the council next month a written determination to surplus property. Been working on that.
Oh, he
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah,
Did
I
that.
I got that.
That's what I want to know.
It
That was
approved
approved by the city
Monday
council.
night.
Yeah.
Awesome, well
Monday
done.
night.
And you've got guys working on their licensures.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
you said last month. Great. Very good. And again, any support you need there, let us know, okay?
Yeah.
Because we know that's, I'm
The,
glad you and Tim have certain licensures and certain do, but
the,
keep building them up as much as you can.
the biggest struggle right now is that the state's not offering the class. You go for the test and that's it. Of course, they have the classes online,
Yeah.
but they're not Zoom. It's just recordings on YouTube that you
Right,
watch.
you're down to a YouTube video.
And, everybody that signs up for the test, you get like a 20 or 30-minute window where you can Zoom the instructor on a certain day at a certain time if you have any questions. That's not how I learn. I learn by sitting in class and somebody asks a question and makes me think about something different than I have a question. So that's been the biggest struggle. But we're trying to overcome it.
It's just the way it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's the way it's moving
I
forward.
take it that's COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a
but-
state budget.
I think it was COVID, but I think
Not what you pay for
gonna
these
go
classes.
more your lean, the way you're leaning right now is they found this is, okay, this kind of works.
This kind of works. It's cheaper,
Yeah.
all those things. I mean, we saw at the university.
Yeah.
at
And you'll never have
KCPC.
another snow day. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's not as quality as an experience for the learner. I totally agree. But you're gonna have to realize this is the way. I've got a couple of license, as just finding work here in the last 3 to 5 years because I wanted to. I spent 10% of the time with instructors and 90% of the time was videos and quizzes and tests. And so it's just the way people are going to be learning from now on. And so it's the way this is going to go. So just have them adjust and say, it ain't gonna be like the way you learned before.
And it's hard for me because I'm having to adjust with them
Yes.
to try to help them with it. And it's hard for me.
Yeah.
I'm not an internet learner. I
know.
want to be in class. I want to have my hands on
But
it.
there's not gonna be that, Clyde, really. COVID's part of it. It's happened because of COVID. But everything's getting turned inside out, and this is one of those places that's happening.
Well, there's a lot of things that just don't show up on paper. And one of the things you get when you go to these classes is what Silas was talking about. You meet other people and you see them and you get to talk about, well, we had this problem, and you find out what they did. You don't
Yeah.
find that out looking on the
Wow.
screen.
I mean, and that's my biggest argument with the continuing ed, is most of that's online now, which don't get me wrong, I can hit the play button and go sit in my office and get caught up on work and still get my hours. But I miss sitting, I'm not shy, I'll sit next to somebody, ask what system they work at, what kind of plant did you run, that's how you learn.
You find out a lot of stuff at these classes.
Do you guys have something at the state level you do annually or before COVID?
But
That you
there's-
go to
So,
regionally or annually?
yeah, so Kentucky Rural Water sponsors most of the classes that we go to, because being a member of Rural Water, the fee, if there is any fee, it's very small. And they're slowly bringing those back. Of course, I was supposed to be in a class this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, then it was at Kentucky Dam, so that one got canceled. But there's Kentucky Rural Water is slowly bringing back the classes.
Good.
But from the state side, if you got in a bind and needed hours, you could attend some of the state trainings. And of course, those are online now. To my knowledge, the state has not offered any in-person trainings since COVID happened.
Mike, you have to do lots of training. I know. Has it changed in your class?
Yeah, we're facing the
10
same
years.
things. I've got a new engineer in my department. I had him signed up for a class that's supposed to start February 14th. They emailed me last week and said, oh, yeah, we're not, that class is full, and they had already enrolled him. So, yeah, most of them are either not happening or there's still issues with it. So yeah, we're having the same problem with trying to find in-person training. I had two that I had on my list of things I needed to do this year, and I had put them off until just within the last month. One of them was a 2-week course and the other one was a 1-week course, and I was forced to do them both virtual because there was no other option.
Was it Zoom or are you talking about it's online, watching video?
There's both, and I agree totally with Silas. I had one class, it was a 1-week course, but it was actually Zoom with a live instructor. And it was still really good. The only thing lacking was the networking with other people. The instructor was really good. So that one was really good, but the other one I did was a 2-week course, and it was a computerized voice reading me PowerPoint slides, and it was horrendous. And I found myself completely not getting anything out of it. So yeah, those are horrible.
We get back to the mayor and his advisory group. What's our role now with the water plant?
So
Right now, we're waiting on him to give us that advisory group before we move forward with that.
Okay.
I think the way I read it was that we would maintain this group and that he would we would bring in people who have an expertise in a particular area or whatever. I'm not saying it would be but not, but just maybe somebody like Roger, who has engineering and water and whole 9 yards, and let him work with us on filters, non-filters, that kind of thing.
and of course,
So he's working on that, and I haven't talked to him recently.
He's been a little busy.
Do we have any kind of DTA kind of time that we think we'd like to make a decision in the next 6 months, the next year?
Right now, we don't, Steve.
my whole intent is, whenever we get this subcommittee together, advisory committee, whatever it is, I've got to move fast on it. And the reason I say that's because I have a lot of things that I need to start moving on, like our booster station. But right now, there's no point in me releasing any engineering work on the booster station, because whether we stay or whether we go, will be a different station.
Roger, kept bringing, I think maybe a sense of urgency when he was
Yeah.
trying to get us moving in that direction. And I just wonder how critical we are now, a year and a half out from, he was pretty
Yeah, I mean, we're,
intense on it.
there's a lot of urgency on this. Of course, of course, the big thing is the booster station.
Yeah.
It's at the end of its life. We need to replace it. If we move, the replacement is as simple as build me the same station that's here. Because that's what that station was designed for,
Right.
to run on a split system. Not saying that we may not want to make where, but the sense of urgency on the booster stations there. But then, back to one of the key things, the longer we stay down there, the longer it's gonna nickel and dime us. Now, if we do stay down there, the upgrades hopefully will not nickel and dime us for a long time.
Yeah.
But
You're
right now,
saying the cost of maintenance.
yes.
And
the
those
cost of maintenance.
upgrades that we know are necessary, whether we do a system or we don't, probably, prioritize those things, and probably shouldn't let them get in really bad shape. Maybe. And I'm speaking out of the Roger,
Go to bed.
really be urgent about the
Yeah.
lifespan of the plant. And
Yeah, I mean, the plant we're in, we're at the end of its life. Now, we can keep it going, but it costs money.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of urgency on this, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Uh,
Silas and I'll try to get with Gene, and talk to him about it.
Yeah.
And see what.
So if we had a plan,
Find
that
out,
if
see.
we know X has got to be dealt with, whether we have a new plant or we don't have a new plant, then maybe we could kind of prioritize those kind of things and move forward with.
Yes.
I think the most critical thing we need is, in addition to the booster plant, which you've been talking about, is whether or not we're gonna get out of the hole down there. Get up on
Yeah.
dry land.
Spring's right around the corner.
But that booster plant was gonna stay there. though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So-
the booster station and the above ground storage tank, no
Right.
matter what stays there.
Right, so
Mhm.
I mean, for something that we can do that we're gonna have to do one way or
Yeah.
another, I guess the only thing is whose money do we use to do it?
Yeah, what,
If we can find some grants or some cheap money out there,
Yeah.
sometimes you can retroactive those things.
and the biggest thing on the booster station is, I need to know if I'm staying down there or if I'm moving. And if I know that I'm moving, then we can pull the trigger on the booster station and have it done relatively quick. If we're staying, that opens up a whole nother can of worms, because how do I size that booster station, which is gonna be a lot more engineering. And it's not as simple as just throw another pump in there, because you gotta look at your pipe size, make sure you can flow the water and things along that line. So, but yeah, I mean, the biggest sense of urgency is the booster station, by all means. So,
Well, what about funding this grants? Is there, whose role is that? The mayor?
That
Is
would
part
be,
of-
well, that will be a part of the advisory committee, is
Okay.
to bring that in as a part of it and have them working, looking on.
Well, when they
that.
say expertise, Steve, to me, that seems like an area you've done fantastic on before in dealing with grants and stuff. And so have you offered any of your,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
But he don't know where to go.
I
until
don't
we
know
get-
where to go, but the big thing about a grant is you got, I don't know any way to say it, I guess. You got the powers that are providing that money are always gonna have a direction they want to go. And to get a project approved, you've got to kind of scratch the itch of that group that wants to do that. And to get
Gotta find out their
completely kind of
motivation.
outside the box right now with the environment and renewable power and stuff like that, you've got to kind of, if you want to get tap into the big money, let me just share an out of the box idea.
Yeah.
You could have a water plant that becomes a teaching plant. Could be solar power. It could be state of the art, but you've got to have another thing. So you provide it as an educational opportunity, like we did the solar house. And that's how I got that funded, is you
Got it.
provide, then you work with, we're working with grade schools and middle schools and science and math projects on that solar
Just
house.
support,
Right.
support being able to do education, have an education space.
Well, that's just an
Have
idea.
everything. I
Or
got
a
you.
training system for other, across Kentucky for other, somebody someday will do that. And they'll have a training center up there to train across the state. So that's how you really tap into your water. Another, Grants, the other way is to expand service. You know, if you increase service to people who don't have safe water,
Got it.
if you got to create enough, it's either a need base or an innovative base
Got it.
mindset that gets.
Well, let's
funded.
throw in one other angle. What about current federal policy? We just passed infrastructure.
Hmm.
And so there's got to be, is there money set aside?
I'm sure there
for
is.
This kind of project.
Their
Seems like there would be.
electrical grid got chucked and they needed it. So,
Yeah, this, but I see you're saying electrical, this is not electrical grid, but
right.
Get off, going
And it'll probably go down through this.
to on your bed.
he's talking to his dog.
Oh, it'll probably go through, you know, most of these things go through several layers and the mayor's on top of that.
Yeah.
Stay in good with the pad office, stay in good with, you know, the Mississippi River group, any of those other groups that can write a multi-county, multi-state, and then you get a little piece of that. The biggest grant we got at the college was that multi-8 state
Yep.
project that
Right
we
along
did
the
down
rivers.
the Mississippi
Right.
Port. And then we did our part in, you know, in marine education and.
Yes, we
and
did.
all That marine
Still
diesel and
happening.
all that, so, yeah.
Still part of it.
So I'm sure there will be chances out there, but
Is
it's
the
either
current-
need-based or innovative-based, and
Got
that's
it.
what gets funded.
I don't see need-based. I don't do, you know, we seem like water's pretty good in this whole area, isn't it? I mean, is there,
Yeah, I mean,
old
whenever,
Gilbertsville, but it's pretty small.
whenever you talk about unserved, I mean, 95 to 97% of our system is served.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
and I'm just, you know,
I
I'm just
know.
pulling that number out, but, you know, whenever you look at unserved, you're talking about parts of the Long Valley.
Okay,
Of course, going down 95, I can't say that they're not served because there's a water main lays right in front of their house. They just don't want to hook onto it.
no,
And
they've got water somehow, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see need-based, but we'd have to look at some other angles for sure. So what bills have passed on the federal level? There's still one that hasn't passed. What is it? Do we know? Did the infrastructure bill pass or just was it a budget bill that passed?
You know, I think I
Budget.
think the budget's what they're fighting about all now, isn't it? Didn't they get infrastructure, get that one?
It was reduced, it was shrunk.
Yeah,
considerably
it was-
from
it
what
started at what?
with. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 billion or trillion, and now it's down to 1.5 trillion is what passed, right? Okay, I'll, if I really care about that, I'll look it up and read that in my,
Yeah,
the 1,000-page novel of it.
you know, I think renewable.
And you won't know anything once you get to the
I'm
end.
sure there's a lot of good jokes in there. I'll
You'll be
bring all
ahead
the
of
jokes.
most of the people voting on it though, if you actually read it.
All right, anything else?
Tim McEwen's gonna be replaced by this fall.
well,
You got a week
Well.
so Tim is
in
talking,
the fall, this fall,
well, he's talking about August. Uh,
next year.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I would like to bring somebody in, you know, I really need to start working on it maybe first of the year, but you know, I'll need to sit down with Glenn to make sure our budget can handle it. But I mean, I think we should be able to do it. Definitely like to bring somebody in, and try to find the right person. You know, I'm not saying that they have to have experience and everything, but you know, I'm not really looking at somebody just straight off the street, you know, straight out of high school. You know, I need somebody that's got a little bit of mechanical experience because that's a very specific niche that Tim does. So,
yeah, I mean, can you do as many businesses do, the temp thing and hire somebody temporarily and see if they fit, or
we can, yes.
you don't have to, I'm just saying those are more options, but
Yeah, I mean,
I would love for you to bring somebody in before Tim leaves,
Yeah.
just to get their feet wet.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, I'm all for you starting that early next year.
Yeah.
Personally, that's me talking, and we haven't said, it's something we can discuss, but yeah, keep that on your list and.
And that's what, I mean, and I had every intention of sitting down and trying to figure it out before the first of the year, but plans change. But yeah, I'll definitely.
It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, oh, trust me, I know.
It'll-
So,
What I'm seeing in the marketplace, it'll be a slow process. Unless you just happen to find somebody that's ready to relocate,
Mhm.
because just not many people coming up in the workplace right now.
Well, and whatever Tim's qualifications are, you got guys that are certified in the things he is that you need.
we're working on it.
Good.
We, what you gotta remember is, with the turnover that we've had since I've been down there, you got Tim who knows all, very experienced. And you got Daryl that knows everything, very experienced. And then I'm the third most experienced down there.
Yes.
And I haven't even been down there 4 years yet. So, we got a lot of new faces. Of course, it's a smaller department, but it's really probably should have been looking at a succession plan years ago, because we're seeing it now. Not saying that we're not gonna be able to handle what comes up, but it'd be nice to have a few more guys with a little bit more experience. So that's why we're gonna be very picky on who we bring in for Tim's replacement. Because I need somebody that's gonna be able to hit the ground running. Then, not saying that they need to know everything, but somebody that can pick it up, then somebody that's not opposed to going, I have no problem sending them down to West Kentucky Tech, picking up some electrical classes, just,
Right.
even plumbing classes, yeah, we don't do regular plumbing, but concept's the same. So, I'd like to find somebody that's a go-getter and, doesn't mind education.
And it's our ordinances and such, they need to live in Marshall County.
They need to live within 15 minutes.
Well, so there gives you a few options
Yeah, they need to live,
of Calvert City.
they need to live within
So
15
they
minutes of the
can
water
be
plant.
Lyon County, Livingston.
Yeah.
possibly.
That's so that when you have an
Yeah.
emergency, they can get.
Yeah, need them.
At 100 miles an
They,
hour.
yeah, they could live in Reedland,
Yeah.
but much past
They
that.
could live,
And-
what was it, the car commercial in Cairo or something?
Yeah, 100 mile.
Yeah.
5 minutes, whatever, 15 minutes at 100 miles.
Let's not pull out a K road.
Size, I just think, I want to echo what Bill's saying. I think, it's a management decision. And we think you're really capable, but you have boards.
Yes.
Board is certainly supportive of you and Dan and trying to get something going if we need to do it. And I think that's what we're just trying to
Yeah.
reassure you that we understand that. See it move forward,
And back to the 15 minutes. If we find the right person and they don't live in Calvert, I would really like to try to convince them to move to Calvert. Because whenever Tim leaves, my maintenance guy, I need them to drive the service truck home every night.
Yeah.
And I can't have them living outside the city driving the service truck home.
Yep.
Because your maintenance guy is more important than me by far. And especially with what's on the truck and what they do, and they need to be able to get to where they need to go and not go to the water plant and pick a truck up and look for a flashlight. They need to be able to get into the truck and go. So, I'm hoping with the right person, if they don't live in Calvert, I hope maybe we can convince them to move to Calvert or at least within our service area. So I can justify to let them drive the work truck home. Because that's very important, being able to call your maintenance guy and say, I need you, and they're not having to run the water plant. They can come straight to you.
Gotcha. Thanks, Dan. That's all I have.
All right, anything else? Barry? Okay. All right, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second.
Bill and Steve. Okay. All in favor, say aye. All right, thank you, guys. Good meeting.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you, Sal.
Bill's available. He's a great tutor if you need that math back up on that stuff.
So I'm not gonna say any names. I got one individual going